Welcome back to Nature's Corner. My name is Erin Shaw. I'm a park naturalist with Ohio Department of Natural Resources. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Ohio State Parks and Watercraft beaches. Right now, we're at Cedar Creek State Park Beach. This is near and dear to my heart. As a child, I would always come here. I actually watched the lake fill up, and my parents would bring me here. I have pictures of many childhood days out here on the beach. So I love to watch the moonrise, the sunrise. I love to build sandcastles. We'll talk about that later. But first, we're going to talk with Officer Dice. And thank you for being on today's show.
Oh, you're welcome, Erin.
He has a very interesting background. So if you'll tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I've been with the Division of Parks and Watercraft for about 3 years now. Before coming on with ODNR, I was actually been in the military for 17 years. I'm in the Army Reserves, and before that, as my civilian job, I was a nurse. So at the age 31, I was offered a position here, and I changed careers, and I couldn't be happier.
Say, life's a beach, right?
That's right. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
All right. So the beaches are very important to the park. It's one of the highlights of the park.
Yes.
And it has been so busy this year, busier than I've ever seen it. Actually, when I was a kid, it was really, really busy.
Yeah. So today with COVID and everything happening, people are enjoying the outdoors more than they did before. They're finding it as a great resource to come out and spend family time together, and a safe family time. So we're enjoying seeing a resurgence of the parks.
Yes, it's incredible. So keeping the park and the beach safe and clean is very important for everyone.
Yes.
And so we're going to go over a few things that people may not understand. Like this first thing, for example, non-Coast Guard approved flotation devices.
Right.
What does that mean?
Right. So I know that's not common language that everyone uses every day. A Coast Guard approved flotation device, that's going to be a life jacket. I've got a few here, for example, of ones that you might see. You can pick these up at anywhere, really. Walmart has them. What you want to make sure of, you want to make sure that they have a stamp on them. And they're going to say Coast Guard approved, okay? These life jackets are meant to, just like they say, save your life. So the big thing when we say do not use anything that's non-Coast Guard approved, we mean pool floats. So we're seeing that more than ever nowadays. We're seeing people out here with arm floaties and unicorns and everything you'd have on your pool at home.
Pink flamingos.
Right. And the danger with those is they're not meant to save your life. They're meant to be in a controlled environment, such as a pool. And out here on the lake, we have weather, we have wind. You can't see the bottom, so you don't know how deep it is. So we've already had a few occurrences this year where people are not so confident swimmers, or they don't know how good their abilities are, and they get out on a pool float and they float out. Maybe the wind takes them out further by the buoys, and then they fall off and they're unable to make it back to shore. And if they had a life jacket on, they would be able to take a break and rest and not have to worry about going under. So.
Yeah. So, and another thing at this lake is that it's unlimited horsepower traffic. So once you pass the buoys, and we'll talk about that, fishing and swim area. It's actually not on the sign, but to stay in the designated swimming area.
Right.
So I get that question a lot, like where can we swim in the park?
Right, so in the park, depending on how you're accessing the water, really. So if you come here to the beach, we have a line of buoys. Those buoys are meant to keep boats out of the swim area and swimmers in the swim area. So those are important. We also make sure that the beach inside the buoys doesn't have any hazards. So we make sure there's no floating debris such as logs underneath the surface or anything like that, just to make sure swimmers are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And there's two like boat swim areas.
Yeah, there are. So on each end of the lake there's a boat swim and camp zone, and you're able to access those areas with your boats. And we have those areas designated because of this lake being, we have wake zones and non-wake zones, which means that boats can go fast in certain areas and they can in others. So a non-wake zone we have designated on the north and south end of the lake, and those are areas where you can swim from your vessel and be safe in those areas.
Yeah, okay, so the last one would be the campground beach. So we've got like 4 swimming,
yes.
designated swimming areas. So that means stay in those designated areas for your safety, and for just overall park experience, I suppose.
Yeah.
So everybody has a good day. All right, so no non-Coast Guard approved, so that means no like inflatables.
Yeah, no pool floats.
Right, okay. No alcohol, obviously.
So yeah, alcohol, most people don't know, water kind of exacerbates the effects of alcohol. So the waves being out in the boat and also being in the water. Most people are out here in the hot sun, that's when you come to the beach, right? So if you're not consuming water and things to keep you hydrated, alcohol's effects take effect a lot faster.
Yeah.
So when we want everyone to be safe, you should never be in the water and be under the effects of alcohol.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Glass containers.
Glass containers kind of speak for themselves. We don't want anyone to be injured here at the beach. When you bring a glass container to the beach, there's always a risk of it breaking and being in the sand. And no one wants to step on a piece of glass while they're here enjoying themselves at the beach.
And littering?
Littering, so everyone wants to come to the beach and see a clean environment. And we want all the animals to be safe here at the beach. If we litter on the beach, it attracts other animals such as raccoons, possums, those kind of things that we don't want around our visitors. So keeping the areas clean, it overall just makes the experience nice for everyone.
I've actually heard a lot of compliments this year that the beach is looking really good. I think the park visitors are really getting the message. And we do have trash cans here, but we encourage people, if you bring trash in, it's really helpful if people take their trash home with them, because by putting your trash in the trash can, yes, we do appreciate that. That's very, very, very helpful. But it also attracts raccoons and animals, and today we've had 3 or 4 raccoons that are stuck inside of the trash cans because there's food, trash food in there, so they're wanting to get in. So if you're able, if you're willing, that's one way to really help the park, is anything that you bring in, take home with you. And that helps, again, all of us, the employees, visitors, and also the wildlife.
Right.
All right, let's talk about pets, especially dogs.
Yeah, so it's very common to bring your dog to swim with you at the beach. We don't want to discourage that in any way, but we do have a pet area designated at the beach. So if you're facing Caesars Creek Beach, the far right of our beach is designated with a yellow sign that says dogs. That is the area where you can enjoy having your dog swim with you. That pet does have to stay on a leash while they're in the water still, because there are other pets in the area enjoying it also. So that's important, to keep your pets and animals in a designated area on the beach.
Very good. Now, is there a time period when people do not have to keep their dogs on a leash at the beach?
So usually there is a time designated in the spring that we do designate the beach as an exercise area for dogs. And that area, that'll be put out usually on the ODNR's website to let you know when those times are and what beaches are available.
Okay,
So
good to know. And it's not on the sign here, but there's also a designated spot if you want to bring your boat in, right?
yeah, so the dog area is going to be on the far right. On the far left of the beach, there is a buoy line that separates the swim area to the boat area. And then there's also a nice sandy area for you to pull your vessel right up on the beach and enjoy the beach just like other visitors.
Yeah, so if you have a pontoon boat or a canoe or kayak, it's easy, pull right up, and whatever, if you need to use the restroom, there's a playground and shelter houses here.
Yep.
So.
You can grill right out, bring your vessel onto the beach, and then grill out at one of our shelters that we have and enjoy lunch.
So grilling is a good lead-in to our next one on the list here, which is fires.
Yeah, fires. So here in the state parks, we ask that you only have fires in designated areas. Those designated areas, you're usually going to have a fire ring that we put in there to signal that's where you need to have your fire at. Along with fires, though, she was talking about grilling and making lunch and stuff. So a problem that we have is people leaving hot coals on the beach. You can see how that is an easy way to get injured. So we ask that if you do bring a grill, a charcoal grill to the state park, please make sure you either take your coals with you after you've extinguished them and cooled them off, or you place them somewhere after they've cooled off and been put out. You place them somewhere where they're not going to be where foot traffic is going to be.
Yeah, good point. I see hot coals up here by the shelter house a lot too.
Yeah, they're just kind of an eyesore also. It's no different than leaving your pop can on the grass by just dumping hot coals in the grass, because it's an eyesore.
Absolutely, it could be a foot sore too.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, how about fishing and swim areas?
So fishing in the swim area. Usually with the amount of visitation that we have, fishing in the swim area isn't a good idea anyways. But we don't like people fishing in our swim areas just due to the risk of leaving tackle and stuff behind. And also people are actively in the water while you're throwing a hook and a sharp object in there. Those two things are never a good idea. So we just ask that you fish in the areas that aren't designated for swimming.
Yeah, and along with that is I encourage people, if you do fish, if you lose your lure, I mean, if you're stuck on something, try to get it if you can, instead of just breaking your line, because we have osprey and bald eagles here, and just a lot of birds and animals that eat the fish. And I have seen several times, like even hooked on to like the nest lures and fishing hooks hanging off. Yeah,
you never know where they're going to end up, especially if they're still attached to the fish and then that fish becomes prey that ends up with that predator wherever they take it.
Or ingested. So if that any chance you can get your line, instead of just cutting it, try to get it back.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. So what else? How about the buddy system? This is not on the sign.
Yeah.
But
so buddy system's always a smart thing. It goes along with having a life jacket and everything, but a buddy system is whenever you enter the water, make sure that you have a buddy with you. Make sure you have someone that can be accountable for you and you accountable for them. So keep an eye on each other, be safe, because sometimes when the beaches are crowded, it's so easy to lose track of someone when they're in the water. So having someone with you in the water is a good idea.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on the kids and just, knowing where everybody is.
That's right.
How about water quality? I get a lot of questions, like where can people go to check if the water quality?
So good areas to check. We have it on our website with ODNR. You can also check with the Army Corps website. Sometimes they have listings on the water quality if they own the waters. We do every now and again have a flare-up of things in the beaches, especially when the water temperatures rise and you have animal traffic and stuff like that on the beaches. Yeah. So it's a good idea to check the water quality.
Absolutely. And there's ways that we can help too. For example, one of the problems, I think, of the water quality is like fertilizer, and there's all kinds of things that affects the water quality. So just be careful with what you're putting into the environment. Another one of my pet peeves here are the geese.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, for a while we thought this was going to be the year trying to get the geese away from the beach. They can be a nuisance. They're beautiful birds, but they can be a real nuisance.
Yeah, so this is a public area. They can't tell the difference between where they're supposed to be and where they're not. So yeah, the geese can leave things behind after they leave the area. Yeah. So you have to watch out for those. And as you said before, those kind of things, they can affect the water quality, but also things that we put in the ground on purpose, such as fertilizers.
So do not feed the geese, actually, because that encourages them to stay here.
That's right.
And people come to the park because they want to have, close encounters with wildlife. That's what we're all about. But sometimes the wildlife can become a real nuisance. The geese, the raccoons, the skunks, sometimes even the deer, if you're not careful where you're driving. But the geese in particular on the beach, because if you're feeding them and then they poo more and then they stay around more and then they poo more, and then that does affect the water quality.
Yeah, we want to keep the wildlife wild, and by feeding them, it it in a sense kind of domesticates and trains them to stay right where the public is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, what else?
We want everyone to be safe. We thank everyone for coming out to our park and visiting, of course. I love that there's been a resurgence of the parks with COVID. I'm not unhappy about that at all. So thank you for coming out. We just want you all to be safe while you're coming out here and enjoying our beach. So.
Thank you for being here. And by the way, before you go, if someone is to have an emergency or need to get a hold of an officer,
Yeah.
what's the best way?
So for non-emergency needs, urgent needs, questions, those kind of things, you can dial pound ODNR on your cell phone. For an emergency, of course, we want you to dial 911.
So, well, thank you for being here.
You're welcome, Erin.
You've got a interesting background
Thank you.
and offer a lot to the park. So,
Thank you.
yeah. We're back now with Ron Kelly and his wife Sandy. They are awesome volunteers. You guys have been with the park how many years?
5
5
years, I think.
Just incredible. Thank you for all you guys do. It's amazing.
We love it.
So today he's going to show us the art of building sandcastles, which is very appropriate because see, your wife's name is Sandy, so you would,
True.
right? So show us what you have here.
Okay, so before I get started, I want to ask one question, and that is, before you've decided you want to build something in the sand, what's the very first thing you have to do before you do anything else?
Have sand?
That's a great question, and you can't do anything unless you have sand. But what I'm looking for is a little bit more zen. Basically, you have to kind of get your inner child, find it and get your inner child, because kids, young people have a instinctive idea of the ethereal nature of sand. It's a solid, everyone knows that, but it kind of acts like a fluid in a lot of ways. And so there's certain things that they understand, like for instance, you're going along and you make a mistake. Big deal. It's sand. You knock it down, you start all over again. It's the journey that's important, not the final product. So that's the thing you have to get to first. Now that I've said that, the very next thing I'm going to do is teach you all the mechanics, because you can't teach Zen in 15 minutes. So
That's right. That's right.
just not there. So get in touch with your inner self, but then after that, you got to sit down and say, all right, I want to build something. Figure out what you want to build. It could be a castle. It could be sculpturing. I'm going to kind of do a fortress today because it's simpler than a castle, but it shows all the techniques. So that's the first thing, figure out what you want. The next is you got to get your tools. There are like 4 categories of tools. There's what you call molding tools. These are, pipes. They sell nice little castles and things like that and battlements and things, but you can go to any dollar store and pick up everything you need. So molds and baskets, just stuff you can put sand in. Then you've got the stuff for moving sand and for moving water. And that's this group right here. Sorry, Erin. This is one of your most important things. Sand is the key ingredient in making a sandcastle, but you also need water. And the pros say it should be like 1% water and 99% sand. To do that as you go on a hot summer day, you got to have a spray bottle. So you'll be molding it, you'll put some water in, you'll be molding it, it'll start to dry out. Just put a little water in there and you'll be fine. Moving heavy amounts of sand and water, moving lighter amounts of sand and water, you need the full Monty. Then there's shaping tools. This one happens to be my favorite shaping tool. It's just a painter's scraper or a mold for putting molding in. But you can have brushes, rakes. This is for larger straight lines. So there's that. So then there's the miscellaneous group. And the miscellaneous group is stuff that you adorn this castle with when you're all done, or the sand structure and when you're all done. So this looks like just a lot of little pieces of wood. I use those for windows. I use those for doors. You can find shells on the beach. You can find rocks, little flags. One of the things I'd say, though, this is do what I say, not what I do. Remember, you're on a public beach or on any beach, and it's easier to just go out and find things on the beach. You can find shells, you can find rocks, twigs, and they will usually do everything you need because, again, the sand is the main thing. I just did this because it was easier. If you do that, if you buy things, make sure you clean them all up before you leave. Just take them all with you. Now, you can leave the sandcastle. It'll eventually disappear in the waves, but take everything with you, okay? So that's kind of the tool set you need. Today I said I'm going to kind of build a fortress more than a sandcastle because it's easier, but it shows you all the techniques. So the very first one, and this is the one I'm afraid of, is this. This is going to be the main keep, and I've got to put it on here so that I don't crush it when I do that. Ah. That wasn't bad. Again, you can always start over again with sand, but I don't think I'm going to have to.
Nice.
Right, now, you can see it's a little dry. That's what I was afraid of, which is fine. We'll just spray it down again. I hope I don't have to start over. Spray it down again, and then, in fact,
I've seen some very elaborate sand
you can make
creations.
almost anything in sand.
Especially if, I mean, on our beaches too, but you know, if you go out to the ocean somewhere, like there's professional sand castle builders.
They have contests. You can buy them for parties or rent them for parties. Again, castles are what most people talk about, but they're sculptured. Right? You can make mermaids and signs, and so again, there's almost nothing you can't make if you just set your mind to it. I knew that was going to happen. Well, we're going to pretend like, and if I was doing this on a beach, I would just smash it all down and start all over again, but we're going to act like it's just an older keep, and so it needs to have a little refinement done to it. All right, so that's the main keep. Now the next thing is a kind of a wing. So make sure you have a good base. And again, it dried out a little bit. Knew it was going to happen. All right. So again, we'll just, now, that's probably the armory for most keeps, unless you're talking about like King Arthur, and then it's probably where he'd put the round table, you know, when he was out away from his main castle in Camelot. Sand is like having a spot on TV with a kid or an animal, you know. It upstages you all the time. All right. So that's the one of the wings, and this is the wing that they would have the armory. Now next, let's see if I can make these a little wetter. Got to put some of the watchtowers on. Of course. All right. Watchtowers on. I knew it was going to happen. Now you know why I told you about that. You just start over thing. All right. There's one.
That's part of the mystery of it.
That's
You're
right.
never really sure how it's going to
happen. Yeah. See, again, kids don't care about that stuff. When I'm on, TV, everyone gets to watch me do it. It's a little more nerve-wracking.
You know what would be neat is if you had the like non-toxic food coloring, and you could put it in your spray bottles.
And then you could add color to your.
Yeah.
Then that would really be a dreamscape. There's a technique that they use. Yeah, King Arthur hasn't visited this one in a while. It's all right. There's a technique that you use when you don't use the 1% to 99%. You get a lot of sand and put a lot of water in it in a bucket, and then you pour it out, and it forms stalagmites.
Okay.
And it's like you can build a wall with that. You gotta get the right mixture of sand and water. You can put a big keep in, and it all looks like a dreamscape, which is what they call it. It's called a dreamscape castle. Okay. All right, so you're gonna have to imagine, and I think I have a picture of it the way it should look. We're not done yet, though. The next technique is something that almost every sand castle or fortress has, and that is a wall. All right, so the technique here is really simple. You build the wall with your hands. And while you're doing that, you kind of are building a moat too. So you go like this. And you go like this. And I'm not going to complete it. Pretend like it's back here. All right. Smooth it out. And then you start getting some of the tools I was talking about. This tool and this tool. All right. So you want to have it so that they can walk along the wall to defend it. So it should be smoothed out. Like that. And then, like I say, the way you usually build this is you take your bucket and you dig a big trench and dump the sand next to the trench. Then you use the hole that you built as a moat. And you fill it with water that you go get from the lake or the ocean. All right. Now let's see if I can do this last little part. So that kind of gives you the idea, and it gives you the techniques. My battlements there weren't as good as I was hoping for. But then you throw some other things at it. Like you can put little flags up top here.
The tools added a special touch. I've never used tools on my sandcastles. This is what I've been missing the whole time.
That's right. Hands are the best tools, but there's still stuff you can do that you know with a
like really refines it.
Yeah, you could do the rake, the brushes for getting some fine stuff settled, and then of course the endorsements really. My battlements there have seen better days. This is after a battle, I think. After they were attacked by catapults. All right, there's that. You can put in stones are commonly added feature. This is from the keep over to the wall. You put some stones down because the horses have to come in. Where is it? Where is it? There you go. And then once you're on the other side of the gate, you need some stuff to move away from the castle. I ran out of stones. Okay. Then doors to the keep. And you'll have to show them what this should look like. Doors to the keep. And the doors to the wall. And then we're going to put some torches out there so that people can see. This is like, oh, that was I missed one of my flags. Let's get the flag over here.
That's awesome, Ron.
Okay. So you can get in the door. I don't think I'm going to try for the windows because my sandcastle dried out a little bit too much. So then you can put in, windows that are, of course, have shutters on them because this is a keep and you've got to keep the villains out. All right, so those are some techniques. As I said, the sand dried out a little bit too much. That's the nature of sand. You have to keep it wet. And again, if I was on the beach and I'd have done that, I'd have knocked it all down, gone get some more water from the lake, splashed it on there and started all over again. I had put a more elaborate one together where it had a 2-tier and use some steps. Steps are easy. You put a big pile of sand, you pack it down, and then you use the shaping tool to kind of cut, the steps into it, the risers into it. That's in the package of. And then this simpler one was also in there in a much better shape than what I showed there. But that's basically sandcastles. Again, it's not the end product. It's the fun that you have putting it together that counts.
Thank you, Ron. See, what I've been missing is a water bottle.
Gotta have a water bottle.
And like special smoothing tools. So now I know.
They sell kits.
Wow.
But you go to a dollar store, get all that, $1 each for
Aha.
everything. So.
Well, thank you. And so I have worked at the park. I'm going on to my 13th year working, and I grew up here. One of my favorite things is walking, you watch the sunset, and then you'll come across somebody's sand creation. It's just awesome.
It's a very neat thing to do on the beach.
And at any age. And so we encourage you to come out and enjoy a day on the beach. If, bring some special tools or make a creation of your own out there. The most important thing is to have fun and to be safe. So thank you all. That's it for today's show. If you have any questions on today's show, you can check us out online at ohiostateparks.gov, or you can check us out on our Facebook page at Cedar Creek State Park. Right. Thank you, and we'll see you on the trails.